Gentlemen, let me ask you something personal. Have you ever looked into the mirror and quietly wondered, where did the man I used to be go? There was a time when your body moved with fire, when your energy felt endless, when desire wasn't something you had to search for. It was simply there, alive, pulsing through your veins. And then one day it seems the flame dims. Erections weaken, stamina fades. Even the simplest act of intimacy begins to feel like a chore instead of a celebration. Most men shrug their shoulders and call it aging. They surrender to the quiet fade. But I'm here to tell you, decline is not destiny. What you're experiencing isn't a final verdict. It's simply a signal, a whisper from your body asking for a new kind of attention. And here's the part most doctors won't tell you. In many cases, the solution isn't locked away in a prescription bottle or hidden in a hospital wing. It's already in your home, tucked quietly into your kitchen. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott. For over 30 years, I've worked as a urologist, professor, and men's health specialist. I've sat with men in their 60s, 70s, even late 80s, and I've seen the heartbreak that comes when vitality slips away. But I've also witnessed something remarkable: men who reignite their strength, restore their confidence, and reclaim their identity as men. And much of that recovery begins not with something complicated, but with something simple, natural, and shockingly overlooked. In today's podcast, I'm going to reveal two ancient spices, forgotten by most modern men, that science now shows can restore blood flow, calm your nerves, balance your hormones, and reignite desire. These aren't miracle pills. They're not gimmicks. They are tools that, when used with consistency and respect, may change the way you feel in your body and in your relationships. But before I reveal them, let me pause here and ask something of you. If you value truth spoken plainly, if you believe men deserve strength and dignity at every age, then take a moment right now and press that like button. Why? Because every time you click it, you're sending a signal, not just to YouTube, but to yourself. A signal that says, I'm not done yet. I still care about my strength. I still believe my best days can be ahead of me. And as you do, here's my blessing to you. May every man who clicks that button find fresh energy in the mornings, not just to rise from bed, but to rise with pride. May your evenings be filled with confidence, calmness, and a sense of control that no number on a calendar can erase. And may your life, whether you're 60 or 80, still carry the spark of presence that makes a man truly alive. Subscribe if you haven't already and turn on the notification bell. This way you'll never miss another natural, science-backed tip that speaks directly to men like you. And please drop a comment below. Type 1 if this resonates with your own experience, 0 if it doesn't. I read every comment personally, and your words help guide what we explore together in the future. So let's begin. The truth is, your strength doesn't disappear overnight. It slips away slowly, quietly, until one morning you wake up and realize the man you remember feels like a memory. The first step to reclaiming that man is understanding why this happens. Once we see the cause clearly, the path forward begins to open. Gentlemen, let's step away from prescriptions and clinics for a moment and return to a place our ancestors understood far better than we do today: the kitchen. For centuries, food wasn't just fuel, it was medicine. Men didn't separate what healed them from what nourished them. They knew every bite either built their strength or slowly wore it down. And as men cross into their 60s and beyond, that truth becomes more urgent than ever. What modern science calls functional foods, our grandfathers and great-grandfathers simply called dinner. These are natural ingredients, spices, herbs, whole foods that contain compounds powerful enough to protect blood vessels, calm inflammation, sharpen nerves, and support hormones. They don't just fill you up, they build you up. I've spent decades in hospitals, lecture halls, and labs. I've seen cutting-edge technology save lives, and I've also seen men lose years chasing complicated solutions when what they truly needed was simpler. Some of the most profound improvements I've witnessed didn't begin in a pharmacy. They began in kitchens, with foods chosen intentionally, consumed consistently, and respected for their power. You see, the male body over 60 faces a unique challenge. Blood vessels stiffen, hormones drift downward, nerves lose sensitivity, digestion slows together. These small changes create the quiet fade you've already begun to feel. But functional foods address those very systems: circulation, hormones, nerves, digestion, in a way your body recognizes. Unlike synthetic drugs that often shock or force the body, nature works with your chemistry, restoring balance instead of overriding it. And here's what's remarkable. When science finally caught up with tradition, the results confirmed what wise men have known for centuries: certain spices truly heal. Cardamom, for instance, relaxes blood vessels while settling digestion. Clove sharpens endurance and strengthens nerve response. Both have stood the test of time, from village kitchens to modern labs, proving themselves more than just flavor. This isn't about chasing trends or gimmicks. It's about remembering that medicine and meals were never meant to be separate. A well-chosen spice, a carefully prepared tea, a ritual with purpose. These can do more for a man's confidence than another bottle on a shelf. So, as we move forward, keep this in mind. The answers you've been searching for may not be far away. They may already be sitting in your cupboard, waiting for you to treat them as the powerful allies they are. And among all these functional foods, two rise above the rest, two spices with ancient reputations, modern proof, and life-changing potential. The first is subtle, calming, steadying. The second is fiery, bold, and built for endurance. Let's begin with the first. Gentlemen, one of the most difficult truths men share with me is that they didn't notice the change happening until suddenly they did. I call it the quiet fade of masculine energy. It rarely strikes like a lightning bolt. It arrives slowly, silently, until one day you wake up and realize the fire doesn't burn as bright. I've spoken with thousands of men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s. Their stories overlap in uncanny ways. They say, "Doc, it didn't happen all at once. At first, I thought I was just tired. Then I told myself it was stress. Then one day I noticed mornings weren't the same, nights weren't the same, and I wasn't the same." That is the quiet fade, less morning energy. Erections that once arrived like clockwork now show up reluctantly, if at all. Recovery after intimacy takes longer. The drive that once defined you as a man becomes faint, almost ghost-like. At first, it's tempting to ignore. You dismiss it as a rough week or chalk it up to life being busy. But month after month, the changes compound. What was once vibrant becomes muted. You may even find yourself withdrawing, avoiding intimacy, not because you've lost love, but because you've lost confidence. And that doubt, gentlemen, can cut deeper than any physical symptom. I've seen this diminish marriages. I've watched men retreat into silence, ashamed to admit what's happening. And yet, here's what I need you to hear. This is not simply old age. It's not a punishment for living long. It is the body's natural biology shifting, blood vessels tightening, testosterone declining, nerve pathways dulling, digestion slowing, stress hormones creeping higher. These small changes don't announce themselves with pain or drama. They accumulate, quietly robbing you of the spark you once took for granted. But the good news, the essential truth, is this: quiet fades can be reversed. When we identify what's happening beneath the surface, we can act. Better blood flow can be restored, hormones can be supported, nerves can wake up again, confidence can return, and it often begins not with massive intervention but with surprisingly simple tools. I've had patients tell me, "Dr. Prescott, I thought that part of my life was finished." And weeks later, they look me in the eye and say, "I feel like myself again." That transformation doesn't happen by chasing youth. It happens by reclaiming balance, by respecting the biology of age without surrendering to it. So if you recognize yourself in this description, know this: you are not broken and you are not alone. The fade you feel is real, but it is not final. And the very same body that slipped into decline can learn to spark again, sometimes with nothing more complicated than two overlooked spices used with intention, care, and consistency. The first of those spices is calm, steady, quietly powerful. The second is fiery, bold, built for endurance. Together, they form a partnership that can change everything. Let's meet the first. When I first learned about cardamom, it wasn't in a textbook or a research journal. It was during my medical training in a small rural clinic far from the polished walls of the university hospital. There was an old man there, well into his 80s. His back was straight, his eyes sharp, and his presence carried the quiet authority of someone who had lived well. Curious, I asked him the secret to his vitality. He smiled, poured me a steaming cup of fragrant tea, and said one word: cardamom. At the time, I thought it was just folklore. Years later, science proved him right. Cardamom may look like a simple green pod, but inside it carries compounds that modern medicine now recognizes as profoundly beneficial for men, especially after 60. Cineol, limonene, and terpenyl acetate, strange names for natural chemicals, but what they do is anything but abstract. They relax blood vessels, lower internal inflammation, ease digestion, and calm the nervous system. That combination is exactly what a man's body needs when energy, confidence, and performance start to fade. Think about it. Erections are not just about testosterone, they're about blood flow. When blood vessels are tight, when circulation slows, performance suffers. Cardamom acts like a quiet guardian, helping the body release tension, allowing blood to move more freely, not just to your heart and brain, but to the areas of life where confidence is tested most. But the benefits don't stop with circulation. Many men don't realize how much digestion interferes with intimacy. A heavy, bloated stomach can dampen desire, shorten stamina, and distract the mind. Cardamom soothes the digestive tract, reduces gas and bloating, and helps the gut feel lighter. In practical terms, that means more comfort, more presence, more readiness when the moment matters. And perhaps most overlooked of all, stress. Gentlemen, I've seen too many men suffer not from physical weakness but from silent anxiety. They enter intimacy carrying worry, self-doubt, or fear of failure. Cardamom helps lower stress hormones and calm the nervous system. That calm doesn't just keep your heart steady, it keeps your mind in the moment. It turns intimacy from a performance back into a connection. I remember one of my patients, a 67-year-old named Richard. He came into my office embarrassed, convinced that his best days were behind him. His blood pressure was elevated, his digestion sluggish, his confidence low. I introduced him to cardamom, not as a cure-all, but as part of a broader shift in how he cared for his body. Within weeks of chewing 2 pods daily and sipping cardamom tea at night, he reported something remarkable. "Doc," he told me, "I feel calmer, my chest feels open, and for the first time in years I didn't hesitate when my wife reached for me." That is the quiet power of cardamom. It doesn't force your body into overdrive. It doesn't shock your system. It simply supports the rhythms that time has dulled. It opens what has closed, steadies what has grown shaky, and calms what has been restless. But here's the key: cardamom isn't just another spice to sprinkle randomly. It's a tool, a companion, and like any tool, it must be used correctly. Too little and you won't notice its effects. Too much and your stomach may protest. The secret lies in preparation, intention, and consistency. In the next part, I'll show you how to use cardamom properly, how to unlock its essential oils, how to time it for maximum effect, and how to make it not just a flavor in your food, but a ritual in your life. Because when cardamom is respected, it becomes more than a spice. It becomes a guardian of circulation, of calm, and of confidence. Gentlemen, here's something I've learned after 3 decades of practice. Most natural remedies don't fail because they lack power. They fail because men don't use them correctly. Cardamom is a perfect example. It's not enough to toss a pinch into your stew and expect miracles. This spice requires respect, intention, and a bit of patience. When used properly, it can support your circulation, digestion, and calmness in a way you'll feel. The best results I've seen come from using whole green pods, not powdered spice sitting in a jar for years. Why? Because the magic of cardamom is in its oils, fragile, aromatic compounds that fade quickly once exposed. To get the full benefit, you need to unlock those oils fresh. Here's the simplest method. Take 2 pods, place them between your fingers or under the back of a spoon, and press gently until the shell cracks. Inside, you'll find tiny black seeds. That's where the healing lies. Chew them slowly, allowing the flavor to mix with your saliva. It may taste strong, slightly sweet, almost minty. Don't rush it. Within minutes, those oils begin entering your bloodstream through the tissues of your mouth, signaling your body to relax blood vessels, settle digestion, and calm the nervous system. For men who prefer something gentler, cardamom tea is an excellent option. Place 2 or 3 pods into a cup of hot water. Let them steep for about 10 minutes, then sip slowly. I often recommend drinking it after dinner or about 30 minutes before intimacy. It eases bloating, helps the gut settle, and shifts your body into what I call readiness mode, calm, open, and present. One of my patients, Charles, a 72-year-old retired engineer, started this practice as a nightly ritual. At first, he was skeptical. "Doc, it's just a spice. How can this make a difference?" But within 2 weeks, he told me something had changed. "My nights feel lighter. My stomach doesn't weigh me down, and when I lie beside my wife, I don't feel nervous, I feel steady." That, gentlemen, is the quiet influence of cardamom when used with care. But let me add a word of caution: more is not better. Chewing half a dozen pods at once won't speed results. It may upset your stomach instead. Cardamom works through consistency, not force. A little each day signals your body to recalibrate, gently, steadily, in rhythm with nature. And here's where the story turns. Because once calmness and circulation are restored, what you need next is fire, endurance, stamina, energy. That's where our second spice enters, bold and unmistakable. Let me introduce you to clove. If cardamom is calm, the steady hand that opens the door, then clove is fire. It's bold, unmistakable, and instantly recognizable. One whiff of its sharp, almost electric scent can wake you up from the inside out. I remember my grandfather always carried a few dried cloves in his pocket. Before long meetings, before long walks, sometimes even before family gatherings, he'd slip one into his mouth and chew slowly. At the time, I thought it was simply a habit. But years later, standing in a laboratory surrounded by scientific data, I realized exactly what he was doing, preparing his body for focus, stamina, and endurance. Clove isn't just another spice for flavoring holiday dishes. It's a potent natural stimulant of circulation and energy. Inside each dried bud lies a remarkable oil called eugenol. This compound is a game changer. It gently opens blood vessels, enhances oxygen flow, and primes the heart to deliver more power with less strain. Unlike synthetic stimulants that whip the body into artificial overdrive, clove strengthens what's already there. It doesn't shout, it fortifies. For men, especially after 60, that distinction matters. Many stimulants can leave you jittery, restless, or depleted. Clove, when used properly, builds steady energy that supports both physical performance and intimacy. It sharpens responsiveness while simultaneously increasing control. That means greater stamina, fewer interruptions, and the ability to remain present with your partner instead of distracted by fatigue or nerves. Digestion also benefits. Much like cardamom, clove has a warming effect on the gut. It reduces discomfort, supports smoother digestion, and lightens the feeling in your abdomen. Imagine approaching intimacy without heaviness, without bloating, without the subtle discomfort that so often robs older men of confidence. One of my patients, Harold, a 69-year-old retired mechanic, put it this way: "Doc, it feels like I've got my spark back. I'm not rushing, I'm not anxious. I'm simply there, steady and strong." Harold wasn't using a prescription drug. He was using clove, 2 buds chewed before intimacy, and a simple evening tea that became his ritual. But here's the beauty. Clove doesn't just work alone. It was never meant to. Its fiery energy pairs perfectly with cardamom's calming influence. Together, they form a dynamic partnership. One relaxes, the other energizes. One steadies the nerves, the other fuels endurance. This synergy is what transforms them from kitchen spices into powerful allies for male vitality. Still, it's important to recognize clove's intensity. The taste is strong, almost numbing at times, a reminder of its potency. That strength is precisely why moderation matters. Too much clove can upset the stomach or create dizziness. Used correctly, though, it becomes not just a spice but a steady companion, a spark of endurance that men can count on, not only in the bedroom but in daily life. So, if cardamom restores calm and opens the path, clove is the fire that walks through it. Together, they offer a balance that few modern solutions can match. And in the next part, I'll show you exactly how to use clove for peak performance, how to prepare it, when to take it, and how to avoid the mistakes that keep so many men from experiencing its full power. Gentlemen, clove is not an ordinary spice you sprinkle on a dish and forget. It is powerful, concentrated, and when used properly, it becomes one of the most reliable allies for male performance. But like any strong tool, it must be handled with care. Too much and it overwhelms. Too little and you won't feel its benefits. The key is precision, intention, and respect. The most direct and effective method I recommend is also the simplest: chewing whole cloves. Take 2 dried buds, place them gently between your teeth, and chew slowly about 20 to 30 minutes before intimacy. At first, the taste may feel sharp, spicy, almost numbing on your tongue. That's eugenol, the active oil, beginning its work. As it mixes with your saliva, it enters your bloodstream through the tissues of your mouth, supporting circulation, waking up the nervous system, and sharpening mental focus. Many of my patients report a very distinct feeling: a warmth spreading in the chest, a calm alertness in the mind, and a sense of readiness in the body. Not the jittery rush of caffeine, but a grounded energy, steady, sustainable, and reliable. For men who prefer something milder, clove tea is an excellent alternative. Place 2 or 3 cloves in a cup of hot water, let them steep for about 10 minutes, then sip slowly. The warmth soothes digestion, relaxes the gut, and provides a gentler release of the oils. I often recommend this version for men who are sensitive to strong flavors or who have experienced digestive issues in the past. I recall one patient, Martin, a 74-year-old former teacher. He told me, "Doc, I tried the clove tea and it's like my body remembered how to respond. I wasn't nervous, I wasn't rushing, I was just present." That word, present, captures what Clove can restore. Performance isn't about forcing your body, it's about allowing your body to align naturally with the moment. Still, a word of caution, Clove is not for everyone. If you're on blood-thinning medication or you struggle with very low blood pressure, you must consult your doctor before using it regularly, and never exceed 3 or 4 cloves in a single day. With Clove, more does not mean better. Its strength lies in moderation and consistency. Used wisely, clove becomes more than a spice. It becomes a ritual, an act of preparation that tells your body and mind, I am ready. And yet, as powerful as clove is, the real transformation happens not when you use it alone, but when you combine it with cardamom. One calms, the other ignites. One steadies the breath, the other fuels the pulse. Together, they create a synergy greater than either can achieve alone. In the next part, I'll show you exactly why this pairing is so potent and how the balance of calm and fire may be the very key to restoring your confidence as a man. Gentlemen, before we continue into the science of combining cardamom and clove, I want to pause and do something I promised you. I told you I read your comments. I meant it. Tonight, I've pulled a few questions and remarks from previous episodes, your words, your doubts, your challenges. Let's go through them together. Question 1, John from Ohio, age 68. Doc, are you really telling me chewing on a spice is going to do more than the pills my doctor prescribed? Sounds like snake oil to me. John, I appreciate your honesty, and let me say this clearly. Nothing I share here is about replacing prescribed medication without your doctor's supervision. Pills have their place. But natural tools like cardamom and clove address root causes in ways medication often doesn't, improving blood flow, calming nerves, and easing digestion. Science supports this. It's not snake oil, it's nature's design rediscovered. Question 2, Samuel, 72. Dr. Prescott, I've tried tea and herbs before. They taste nice, but I never noticed much. Am I doing something wrong or is it all hype? Samuel, great point. The mistake most men make is inconsistency. You can't chew one clove and expect transformation. Just like exercise or sleep habits, the body responds over time. Think weeks, not hours. That's why I encourage making these spices part of a daily ritual. Subtle changes accumulate until one day you notice your mornings feel lighter, your confidence steadier. Question 3, anonymous comment online. You're just trying to get views. If these spices really worked, doctors everywhere would be prescribing them. To that commenter, thank you for voicing what many think. Here's the truth, modern medicine often overlooks what can't be patented. No company makes billions from cardamom pods or clove buds, but that doesn't mean they don't work. As a professor, I've taught medical students to respect both science and tradition. What I share here is based on published research and decades of clinical observation, not marketing. Question 4, Frank, 65 from Texas. Doc, my wife says I'm too stressed to be romantic. Can spices really calm my nerves, or is that wishful thinking? Frank, stress is often the hidden thief of intimacy. Cardamom helps lower cortisol, clove sharpens focus, and together they ease that constant background tension. But here's the key. It's not only chemistry, it's ritual. When you prepare them with intention, chewing slowly, sipping tea quietly, you're telling your nervous system it's safe to relax. That shift can make all the difference for you and your wife. Question 5, a skeptical remark. So, Doc, what's next? Cinnamon sticks for muscles, nutmeg for hair growth. I smile when I read comments like this. Gentlemen, skepticism is healthy, but don't let it blind you to evidence. Not every spice is a miracle, but some have measurable, documented effects. Cardamom and clove are among them. My role is not to sell fantasy, it's to highlight tools you can test for yourself. If they work for you, wonderful. If not, you've lost nothing but a few cups of tea. Gentlemen, keep the questions coming. I'll continue pulling your comments into these episodes. This isn't just a lecture, it's a conversation. And whether you're a believer, a skeptic, or simply curious, your voice matters here. Now, let's turn back to the science. Because as powerful as cardamom and clove are individually, something extraordinary happens when you bring them together. One calms, one ignites. And in that balance, many men rediscover themselves. In medicine, we have a word for what happens when two elements come together to create something far greater than either could achieve alone: synergy. That is exactly what unfolds when cardamom and clove meet. Cardamom is the calm, steadying the breath, opening the vessels, quieting the nerves. Clove is the fire, fueling circulation, sharpening endurance, strengthening response. Alone, each is powerful. Together, they create a rhythm the male body instantly remembers. calm breath. Steady heart, focused mind, confident control. I've seen this transformation with my own patients. Men who had nearly given up hope found themselves surprised by subtle but undeniable shifts. Doc, I didn't think I'd ever feel that again. One man told me after a month of combining both spices. He wasn't talking about youth returning, he was describing balance. He felt lighter, calmer, yet more alive than he had in years. Why does this work so well? Because male performance isn't powered by just one system. It's not only hormones, it's not only blood flow, it's not only nerves, it's the interplay of all three. Stress interferes, digestion interferes, even posture interferes. That's why single solutions, whether a pill, a diet, or an exercise, so often disappoint. But when calm and energy arrive together, when blood vessels open while nerves sharpen, the body finds its natural harmony again. Science gives us the language for this. Vasodilation from cineol, nerve stimulation from eugenol, reduced cortisol, enhanced oxygen delivery. But men don't live in textbooks. You live in the reality of your mornings, your evenings, your relationships. And in that reality, what matters is not just the chemistry, but how it feels. Do you rise with confidence? Do you approach intimacy without hesitation? Do you feel present in your own skin? That is the true measure of success. And here is the beauty. This pairing isn't about forcing youth back into your veins. It's about reclaiming what time tried to dull. Nature works not through aggression, but through balance, restoring what was fading, steadying what was slipping, igniting what was smoldering. Gentlemen, cardamom and clove together are more than spices. They're a partnership. One opens the door, the other walks through it. One whispers calm, the other answers with fire. And when you make them part of your daily life, not a one-time experiment, but a steady ritual, you invite your body to rediscover a rhythm it never truly lost. In the next part, we'll talk about exactly that, ritual, because it's not just what you take, it's how you take it. Ritual turns routine into power. It prepares the mind, signals the body, and transforms hesitation into mastery. Gentlemen, let me share a truth many men overlook. Performance is not about luck. It's not about hoping tonight goes well or willing yourself to feel stronger. Performance, intimacy, confidence, all of these are about preparation. And the single most powerful tool of preparation I've seen in my career is ritual. Now, I don't mean superstition or empty routine. I mean intentional action, small, consistent steps that send a clear message to your body and your mind. I am ready. That, gentlemen, is what separates men who struggle from men who reclaim control. Think about it. Every culture in history has used ritual to prepare for what matters most. Athletes before the game, soldiers before the march, musicians before the performance. Why would intimacy, one of the most meaningful acts of our lives, be any different? When you take cardamom and clove and turn them into more than just spices, when you make them part of a ritual, you transform them from ingredients into allies. Imagine this, it's evening, you're not rushed. You set aside a few quiet minutes for yourself. 2 cardamom pods, 2 clove buds, you crush them gently. You chew slowly without distraction. You taste the sharp fire of clove, the cool calm of cardamom, and as you do, you remind yourself, this moment is mine, this body is mine. I am preparing not only to connect with my partner, but to reconnect with myself. This act, repeated nightly or a few times each week, does something profound. It creates consistency, and the brain loves consistency. Over time, your nervous system begins to respond the moment you begin the ritual. Your heart rate steadies, your stress hormones lower, your body shifts into parasympathetic mode, that open state where connection, confidence, and performance thrive. I recall one patient, Leonard, a 70-year-old veteran. He laughed when I first told him about ritual. "Doc, I'm not lighting candles," he said, but 3 weeks later he admitted something surprising. "Every time I crack those pods open, I feel different. My body relaxes. My mind clears. It's like flipping a switch." That's not imagination, that's biology responding to repetition and intention. And here's the best part. Ritual isn't only about chemistry. It's about reclaiming dignity. Too often, men think intimacy must happen on autopilot, as if effort somehow means weakness. That's not true. Ritual is effort transformed into mastery. It's you choosing to take control rather than leaving it to chance. So don't ignore this. Cardamom and clove alone are powerful, yes. But when woven into a ritual, they become something greater, a daily reminder that you are still capable, still present, still very much alive. But there's one more piece we can't neglect. Because even with preparation, even with ritual, the body itself must be respected. Posture, the way you position yourself, can either support or sabotage everything you've built. Let's talk about that next. Gentlemen, let me speak plainly again. You can prepare your mind, you can calm your nerves, you can even fuel your circulation with cardamom and clove. But if your body is working against you, if every movement strains your joints, if every position makes you ache, you will never feel fully confident. That's why posture matters. At 60, 70, or 80, our bodies don't bend and stretch the way they once did. Backs grow stiff, hips lose flexibility. Knees complain more loudly than they used to. And yet, too many men ignore this reality. They try to force themselves into the same positions they used decades earlier and then wonder why intimacy feels awkward, painful, or impossible. The truth is, intimacy isn't just emotional or chemical, it's mechanical. The way you position your body can make the difference between struggle and flow, frustration and satisfaction. And the right adjustments are not about weakness. They are about wisdom. Take the classic example of letting your partner take the lead. When she's on top, it reduces strain on your spine, hips, and knees. You can focus less on holding yourself up and more on being present, connected, engaged. Another excellent choice is side-by-side spooning. Gentle, intimate, and requiring little pressure on the joints, it allows both comfort and closeness. These positions don't diminish masculinity, they enhance it. Because they free you to enjoy the moment without distraction. I've had men in my office embarrassed to admit they avoided intimacy simply because it hurt. When I explained posture adaptations, the relief on their faces was profound. One man, 73-year-old Daniel, told me after trying side-by-side, "Doc, I didn't feel broken anymore. I felt free again." That's the power of posture. It gives you permission to adapt instead of quit. And remember, posture isn't just about mechanics. When your body feels safe, your mind lets go. And when your mind lets go, intimacy deepens. That sense of control and connection returns. Now, let me bring all of this together, because I don't want you to leave here thinking this is simply about spices, posture, or rituals. It's about something larger, the message your body has been whispering to you. Losing stamina, losing morning energy, losing confidence, it is not the end of your story. It is simply a signal. A quiet request from your body that says, "I need something different now." And that something different doesn't have to come from a prescription. Sometimes it comes from 2 humble spices in your kitchen. Sometimes it comes from taking a few minutes each night to prepare a ritual. Sometimes it comes from shifting posture so your body feels respected, not punished. Gentlemen, you are still men. You are still capable of love, of passion, of pleasure, of strength. Your body has not abandoned you. It is waiting for you to listen, waiting for you to honor it, waiting for you to give it what it needs so it can give back what you thought was lost. So let this be your invitation. Slow down, prepare with intention, use what nature offers, respect your body's wisdom, and above all, refuse to surrender to the lie that age equals decline, because the fire you thought was gone, it's still there. Maybe buried, maybe quiet, but still alive. And with the right spark, calm and fire, ritual and posture, you can bring it back. Before we close, I'll ask you once more, if this message resonates with you, press like right now. Think of it not just as supporting this channel, but as making a promise to yourself. A promise that you will not give up. And as you do, here's my blessing for you. May your mornings rise with pride and power. May your evenings be filled with calm connection, not quiet frustration. And may the years ahead of you be stronger, richer, and more alive than the years behind. Subscribe if you haven't already and leave a comment below. Type 1 if you believe your best days are still ahead, 0 if you're not sure yet. I read every word. And together, as a community, we will prove that age is not the end of manhood, it is the beginning of a new kind of strength.